Welcome everybody to our new YouTube video. Today we will talk about IRS Revenue Officers, or IRS ROs as we like to call it. An IRS Revenue Officer is the most senior employee at the IRS that can collect taxes. So if you have a revenue officer assigned, you are dealing with the most senior person, the most aggressive person at the IRS, and their job is to try to collect as much money from you as possible. So we'll discuss a few topics today about a revenue officer, especially now that the IRS is top of mind for Congress. They are trying to spend more money with the IRS and get the IRS more funding, which means hiring more agents and officers, which means more taxpayers are going to get contacted by revenue officers. On a normal basis, the first way the IRS corresponds with people is via mail. That's their number one correspondence, especially with all the scammers out there. IRS won't call you initially. They also will not send you emails, but they will send mail. Now, with a revenue officer, the initial way that the revenue officer will contact you is usually in person. So revenue officers are field officers, meaning they're not sitting behind a desk all the time. They're out in the field. They're coming to your house or your place of business. They are checking out what's in your driveway, how your house looks. They want to conduct an interview, get some financial information from you, and they do that as a form of intimidation. So you don't have time to come up with an answer and you're talking to them directly. So that's how they first get involved. And when they do get involved, their main job is two things. Number one is to secure any delinquent tax returns, meaning they want to make sure all your returns are filed. And number two, how can they collect the most amount of money as quick as possible? And usually they'll kind of force you to sell assets or put you in an uncomfortable position so that you're paying a very high monthly amount. And that's what they're trying to do when they get assigned, is get the tax returns and also make sure that you're paying as much as possible. Now, a revenue officer gets assigned in very limited situations, but once they are assigned, you're stuck with that person, you're stuck with that officer. So if you owe over $250,000 to the IRS combined, that's a very quick way to get a revenue officer assigned. If you have a bunch of delinquent tax returns, more than 3 years of unfiled returns, that's also another way that a revenue officer can get assigned. If you're delaying collections or evading or doing something to position yourself to continuously owe and evade the IRS, that's another way a revenue officer can get assigned. Lastly, if you're getting really close to the expiration dates on your balances and your balances with the IRS are coming to expire, then in that situation a revenue officer can get assigned as well. So you want to make sure that the revenue officer is actually from the IRS. So anytime you talk to them, make sure you get their badge number, their ID number, ask them specific questions about who their manager is. They have to report to somebody, and a lot of revenue officers don't want to provide their manager's information, but that's really helpful because if you can't contact them, or the revenue officer is getting too aggressive, or you need another set of eyes to take a look at the case, you can absolutely ask for not only their badge ID, but also you can ask them for their manager's contact information. A lot of revenue officers are aggressive. They get kudos at the office when they collect money, especially from a taxpayer who has been evading, and a revenue officer can get them to pay a large amount. That's how they get credit at the IRS. That's how their performance is evaluated sometimes. So their main job is to be aggressive. They're going to try to be your friend and tell you that they're here to help you. But as the famous saying goes, never trust somebody that says, "I'm here from the government and I'm here to help." They're usually not. They just want to collect as much as possible. Now, the great news is that if you hire an attorney to help you, they take over full communication with the IRS. In that situation, the IRS won't be able to call you. The revenue officer can't show up to your place of business or your residence. Under the power of attorney, the revenue officer can only talk to the attorney on record. And so that really eases a lot of concerns for our clients, because they don't need to conduct any interviews. They don't need to provide any financial information. They only will deal with our office and not with the IRS. So if you do have a revenue officer assigned, it's very difficult to navigate on your own. We do suggest you hire somebody, whether it's your CPA or an attorney or enrolled agent. Ultimately, you should hire somebody that has an understanding of how the IRS works and what that process is. If you guys need more information, you can visit us, victorytaxlaw.com.